What's up, everybody? I'm Yogi Chris. This is a Behavior Code podcast. I'm streaming to you from Base One, the first Stoic temple of its kind in the world. Right? There were Stoic temples. They got decimated by the Roman Catholic Church and everybody else afterwards. Stoicism is like from 2,000 years ago. And then it got shamed and defamed, saying, you're emotional, non-emotionally, can't express emotions, and, Stoic. But really, it's power. Stoicism is power. Let me read you something. I'm not even going to select it. I'm just going to flip. Boom. This is a really long one. The flourishing life is not achieved by techniques. You can't trick yourself into a life well lived. There's no trick. Meditations, by Marcus Aurelius. Read it 6 times. Neither is it, even just there. Just that's the first 2 sentences. It's not achieved by techniques. You can't trick yourself into a life well lived. All right, but he goes on. Neither is it achieved by following 5 easy steps or some charismatic figure's dogma. Okay, a flourishing life depends on could you imagine a teacher like Arash, a very charismatic teacher, saying, read this book that says don't follow what a charismatic teacher tells you to do? That's cool, man. A flourishing life depends on our responding as best we can to those things uniquely incumbent on us. It means our responsibilities. So it's how you respond to life. That's where you can make your life flourish. It's in your responses. To live an extraordinary life, look how good the podcast is. I'm just reading another guy's book or whatever. They say he said these things. To live an extraordinary life means we must elevate our moral stature by culturing our character. So to have an extraordinary life means character is what he's saying. The untrained broad, which means to think deeply about what makes you unhappy. So the untrained, he's saying the untrained people think deeply about what makes them unhappy. That's what broad means. He's saying the untrained broad about the constituent elements of their life. The untrained think deeply about the constituents of their lives that make them unhappy. They waste precious time in regret or wishing their particulars were different. Meaning, if only I'd lived in a better house or had a different spouse or a more glamorous job or more time to myself. The morally trained, rather than resenting or dodging their current life situations and duties, give thanks for them. Is that I think that's a technique. Give thanks for your current life situation. Give thanks for your current duties. Fully immerse yourself in your duties to your family, friends, neighbors, and job. When we succumb to whining, we diminish our possibilities. You can see how whining narrows our scope of things. Whining, that complaining vibe. This is the last paragraph. The overvaluation of money, status, and competition poisons our personal relations. What would our personal relations be if it were Survivor and we were living on a desert island and we didn't care about some of the things that we cared about? Some of the things that we're making important. The flourishing life cannot be achieved until we moderate our desires and see how superficial and fleeting they are. So that's one passage. There's like 120 of these. And so there's a lot there. So this is the first Stoic temple of its kind, because there's nothing in this, like every other dogmatic scripture on earth, that says one guy, one girl. Because that's how they enslave masculinity, which is how the planet becomes ruled by pedophile elites. Because that's ridiculous to have 7 billion, 3.5 billion men tolerating that shit. 2 billion adult men tolerating that shit from how many at the top? Well, they're too blinded. They're too focused on things that are not within their control, surrendering what is in their control to just a fleeting life. Right? So that's Stoic philosophy. So this is what we live here, but then we're also living the science of attraction, the science and logic of relationships. which is to be entertaining and artful and romantic and unpredictable and poetic and blah, 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 blah. But there's a logic to it also why it works. Now, so this is what I'm broadcasting from here. This is base one. Right there is AZD's cell. Outside a moment ago, Fernando was shadowboxing on his bag and jumping rope. And Cortez and Sultan, and that's the environment. I live in the back of the temple at the cottage in the back. I manage the grounds. I grew a lawn, front and back, that didn't exist when we moved in here 8 months ago. I leveled the dirt and excavated 2,000 pounds of stone. That was just waste stone left over. I leveled the dirt and set up 4 or 5 tents. And now we have a campground in the back of the temple. And that's what I do here as a hobby. And we have the jiu-jitsu pads here. And so this is a warrior monk temple that what we're learning is coming from obviously the teachings of AZD. And what are AZD's influence? And then what we all bring individually. Sultan as a realtor, Fernando as a different kind of realtor. He does flipping like, decrepit houses or whatever, makes a bunch of money on them. And a bunch of money. Then, and then Cortez is a war hero, literally a war hero. He doesn't talk about it. That's because he's a war hero. Like in that sense of it, and just works for Amazon, being almost like a retired war hero almost. And then me in the back, and I'm like teaching yoga. I have my online yoga groups, just did a yoga retreat, setting up for the next yoga retreat, was teaching yoga around the United States, built up my brand as a yogi, but did that 5 years after meeting AZD, which was 3 months after I got certified, and decided I'm going to start a brand called The Ninth Limb. And then I met AZD and I had my brand. But I had no personality, no expression. I was so bottled up, so much suppression in my own head against myself, paralyzing my own movement. So I stuttered and hesitated everything I did, unless I was in my few safe zones of things that I did, which is amazing. Those activities, they circle back around in your life, or they spiral around as I was teaching, because really life is moving forward. You can't circle back to the same place. So this is a Stoic temple. So, we had a bunch of questions come in before the podcast, how do I introduce the idea of having a second girlfriend to my girlfriend? Or I had some comments here on Zoom. Hold on. I'm switching the menus here. Talking about the spinal health, and also what am I learning out in the field with AZD? Is Miracle J still on? Oh, Miracle J left. He asked the question, left. So I'm not going to answer that one. And then, spinal health, that's a little off topic, but I'm the yogi of base one. So it's on topic. And, for the spine, you really just think about the head is on top of the spine. And then you have your shoulders at the top of the spine, and you have your pelvis at the bottom of your spine. And then like in between those is your spine. And really there's your ribs too. So it's just, you start to see the spine and think about your spine as a central theme of your movement. Yeah, and just thinking like that changes things. And so you think like that while you work out. Think like that while you change your body, and you'll change your body more deeply. Right? That's how you like kind of work it into the system. All right. And then when it comes to girlfriend stuff, I mean, how I do it is talk about it online. So I get a lot of practice. Okay. So first of all, I've been around AZD for a long time. It's really become normal. It's really kind of fucking weird when you think about all the guys in the world, all those guys. 210 Ronan, what's up? Come to Beast Camp. Mike Ducey, come to Beast Camp. Robert Adam from Down Under. He's an opera singer, dude. This dude sings opera. I've never met an opera singer. Actually professionally sings opera. Oh, And come to Beast Camp, man, because we'll unlock that voice. There's so much in the voice that's hesitating and that's tense because of how you're talking to yourself. Not the words you're singing, not because of your training and your voice stretching, but because you're not belting it, because you have withholds inside of you. Withhold is a technical term from Scientology that I don't know the definition of it. But basically, when you feel guilty about something, you keep talking to yourself about it. But you don't share it on the outside, so you have to dance around certain subjects or walk on glass, as they say, but it's nothing induced from the outside. It's just you on the inside don't want to share it. You have a withhold. And it's based on ethics. So it's an out ethic or something like that. So there's withhold. We all have that. I have tons of that. That's when we get triggered. When I'm around AZD, a lot of that is like I have withholds on something that it's triggering something I suppressed or whatever. Little topics, and relationships will do that. So what I was saying a moment ago is when you're around a guy that he talks about, look at Shamir doing hip circles, loosening up his spine. So, or Johnny Freedom, that's Johnny Freedom doing that. And what was I saying about withholds? But it was before that. Relationships trigger that. What was it? Anybody online catch that? We got a bunch of people on Instagram. Come to the Zoom is where over here. No, nobody remembers what it was, but all right, well, we'll just go back. So the first Stoic temple of its kind, relationships, the red pill of relationships. You know, what guys are saying out there, it was something about what guys say. Oh, God, nobody talks about my women. You know how AZD talks? He's like, my women. Like, I'll hear him say my women, however many times I'll hear him say it, day in and day out for the last 5 years. Who do you know that says that? You don't hear those words together. Nobody hears those words together, my women. So I've been hearing that. Eventually, you start speaking it. At first you'll say, your women. You'll talk to AZD and be like, your women, and you'll feel uncomfortable. You don't even want to talk about another man's girlfriend to him like that. It's weird. I always feel weird about that. I don't talk to any guys about their girlfriend unless they're going through like some how's your relationship? Where's your game at? This and that. It's just guy talk. So just that idea in a person's head of hearing your women, my women, and then speaking it out, your women, my, it's like, it's a totally different thing. So you yourself must become comfortable with the idea, and not, because if you're not comfortable with it, then you're really pursuing like a sexual agenda. But it's like, I heard somebody say it once. It was very interesting. I think he was a pickup artist. He was like, oh no, he categorized, because he was I don't really like to have threesomes. I say really because there is a fun thing about it, but it's like, there's a word for that. It's you're not going to know this word I'm going to say. Oh, it's on the tip of my mind right there. If I get it, I'll remember it. It's basically a word to say like ethically or morally, like to decline a little bit, but for baser pleasure. But it's a word. It's not like, anyway, or for fun, or for some, drugs, you would say. It's not degeneracy or whatever. Anyway, like, so there's that about it. Like, I don't really think it's that ethical, actually. Like, so I examine that, and the opportunities aren't really there. I don't really push it. It's nothing. It's fucking weird, actually. As I think about it, it's really just, it's too, it's like off purpose. That is so sexual that like sex for me isn't even sexual. Sex is like a part of a relationship. And like relationships aren't sexual. Relationships are like for power. And power is for influence, and influence is for safety. And safety is so that you can evolve as a spiritual being. So that's it. Like, I'm not pursuing sex for sex. I'm pursuing sex for evolution as a spiritual being, right? Because it makes sense. Sex is needed in the relationship, but you want to generate so much attraction that she wants it so much that it's not you chasing it. That's going to be a preliminary ingredient for multiple women. because there's going to be way too much jealousy and girls are just going to flake on you. They're going to be turned off by a man that's chasing other women. And your pursuit of other women, you could pursue women, but there's a chasey vibe to it. There's a vibe. And so you need to become solid and clear on what that is for yourself, because she may have problems with your vibe. That's her problem. It's not that you're doing anything wrong. She just has her own problems with that idea. But then sometimes she's really giving you information about, hey, you're off code right here. You're not on code for a powerful man. You're on code for a skeezy, sleazy little rat of a man that goes around as fast as you can, trying to procreate as quick as you can without getting caught, and then come back and then make the girls cool with it. So I can only speak on like what I know, and what I know is just to speak about this information as much as you can. People will be repelled, some will be attracted, and you'll get better at delivering it. And there's a lot of pain in the process. But then there's freedom when you get the texts, when you get the messages, when you get the actions. When you submit a woman, it feels really good. But you don't submit her by tapping her. Like, you submit her through her desires, and it's like the most pleasurable thing for her is to submit herself to you, because that gets her more of what she wants. And you don't need to apologize about it, but you don't want to speak about it in a way that then she would feel embarrassed if you spoke about your relationship with her publicly. It should bring up her value to have a relationship with you. If it doesn't bring up her value to have a relationship with you in the first place, don't expect her to be too comfortable with another girl, because the dynamic is off. She's masculine in that sense. Okay. I'm framing things to keep my claws sharp and our relationship to stay fresh, and choking each other every day is more powerful. Sorry, choosing each other every day. Choosing. Claws sharp and choosing each other every day is more powerful. Yeah, I get the logic of that. If I was a girl and I heard that, it makes sense to me as a guy, and I get it. But what that would say to me as a girl is that you're looking to choose another girl. It feels very one girl, one guy frame. I don't even talk about other girls at all to the girl when I'm hanging out with her or when I'm interacting with her. I talk about girls publicly. So everybody, because how many times do you think I've offended girls publicly talking about girls, and then they jump off the Zoom, and then I feel a little loss? A lot. It's nice to know that a bunch of guys also agree with me, and hopefully another girl is also on the Zoom that agrees with me. And so she's going to feel a little lost when she leaves. If there were 3 girls, if there were 10 girls, how pretty are they? She's going to feel a loss when she gets off stream, because she doesn't like that I'm talking publicly about girls. Now, what if I'm talking publicly about like my relationship with her? Well, I mean, that's what, that's where we navigate. That's where wisdom comes from, because the fact that we weren't able to really talk about or express about relationships, sex, romance, lust, and love growing up. That's why we're also blank-minded on it. That's why we don't know how to talk about it or how to have real relationships, because it was shadowed from us. It was shunned from us, just like death. We don't see death and we don't see sex. Not sex like, sex, like real, like love, where she needs him and he needs her to take care of his kids. Or whatever. That's what it would have been back in the day. Now, if a guy doesn't want kids, what's she going to take care of? Well, the planet is in such a state. It's in such a state that it's female sexuality is allowed to be, AZD's going over this in lecture today. Female sexuality is allowed to just be out there, and male aggression and dominance is not allowed to be out there. That masculinity is more suppressed than ever, and femininity, even if it is the darker side of femininity, because it just wreaks chaos to let women run around naked or being sexual. But it is feminine, because if men do that, they get arrested or they're very unmateable. Guys will fuck them because that's what gay guys are. They're very flamboyant, sexual guys. Women don't want to fuck them because it's reproductively dangerous. That's not survival value. But that's how women are acting because that's feminine. That's a feminine value. It's a feminine quality. So talking like this is how you talk about. So with women, if I was going to give specific advice, you just got to get both girls to such a compliance level that you can talk frankly about male-female dynamics. So they need to be so into you, and they need to be so comfortable with you that you can talk frankly about things. And then you just want to talk about things as they're relevant to the time as it's coming up, because you forcing them to be okay is still your sexual agenda. You should just talk to more girls. Talk to more girls so that you don't need to push any one girl further than she's willing to evolve. If she's already complying to you, and if she's getting any sexual with you at all, holding your hands, kissing, and anything past that, then consider it a green light. Maybe it's a yellow, but it's like, just be patient and just keep speaking your truth, gradually escalating as she gets more comfortable. And eventually you'll either grow tired of her or you'll seduce her. Or she'll get turned off by what you're talking about. But just don't be the pushy guy. Don't chase. And eventually you'll have this internal cost balance where you either go more or you stop going, because it starts taking away from your other options with other girls. And if you don't have other options, that's why guys that don't have options chase. So as you get more options, you'll chase less. She'll face that as you get more options, you have less time for her. Now, what I've done is make myself so busy with my business that every girl gets just a little bit. So if a girl gets anything from me, it means a little bit. Then if you just judge it like that, it's ridiculous, because in the beginning, girls don't remember, but in the beginning, girls got a lot more. Girls, they get more in the beginning because they're new, and it's a biological response. Now, sticking around and being enmeshed and intertwined and interwoven in my life that's going upwards, it must be seen that a man that's going to ascend through power from your traveling yoga teacher up to you're the yoga consultant for the president and the emperor and the sultan and the astronauts and the CEOs and the owners of sports teams. While traveling and having your temples and all of your whole structure and program that's built up for everybody that matters to you, that's close enough to you, that they're going to pretty much either have a position, they're going to be able to be taken care of or take care of themselves under the safety net of your organization for the rest of their lives, as long as they choose. Meanwhile, they practice spiritual, mental, emotional liberation and freedom from a slave planet. And to the degree that they succeed within the organization for themselves, they have free time to pursue their hobbies and create for themselves. I read for you Stoicism, like, don't just follow the dogma of a charismatic leader, you become a leader. So I know that any woman that attaches herself to me is essentially, for me, a liability as I ascend to that. Do you see that being an assistance to me on the way up? Do you know what it takes to get to that? How much time do I have for interacting with women? Well, I'm about to, Jason Phillips, he left the stream. I'm about to go out to eat with AZD, and some of the Temple Guardians will be there. I don't know who will be there. And I'm really hungry because I've needed a grocery shop for 2 weeks. I don't know how I keep getting by. So I'm going to eat. And I'll answer a lot of messages because I have probably 30 or 40 messages to reply to, which will in themselves bring more messages in reply to that. It's conversations and things, Meanwhile, I'll be watching AZD as he interacts. And the way he interacts is just out of this matrix. The way he moves his body in subtle ways that gradually he notices how it opens. The bodies are communicating to each other underneath the words and the sounds. You don't notice it happening because it's not spoken. There's no sound to it. But even in your peripheries and out of your senses, and when you remember that as you turned, there was a pretty girl there, or she noticed there was a high value guy there, as she turned, her body will start acting, knowing that that person is there even without looking. And she'll do actions, or he'll do actions that justify him looking and whatever and register. Now, most guys stop there. He knows how to do more through pickup artistry to open conversations. Now, through having multiple relationships for a long time, he knows how to open conversations in ways that if, let's say, his girlfriends were to observe, they wouldn't be embarrassed or ashamed. Now, they'll need to know a little bit about game because there's acting involved. And so it's not like a true truth-saying spiritual teacher speaking only truth, talking only deep spiritual matters out at a social venue. It's like the drunken warrior, really, where even though you're not drunk, you're pretending to be looser, freer, talking whatever gets the girl. Because in the end, if you're wise and spiritual and solid, emotionally stable, if you represent survival value, then whatever it takes to get the girl is really for the girl's value. It's to her benefit. If she can get linked up with you, it's to her benefit. And if that's true, then any means to get the girl that's ethical. I mean, that's where the question of ethics, is it ethical to pretend to be a producer, a movie producer, to get the girl? In the beginning, if later you know that you'll be able to at some point sit down and laugh with her, hey, I want you to know, it'll be at the right moment. At the right moment, she'll figure out. Just like at the right moment, you'll notice that she doesn't look the same way when she doesn't have her makeup on, when her hair isn't done, when she hasn't shaved her legs, when she's not wearing high heels. At 3 a.m., she looks different. But at 3 a.m., I'm just as ambitious as I am the whole day. So I need certain displays of my ambition, which is my success, or my other triggers. We have other triggers that are behavior qualities. That's part of what we study. So what's so cool about Stoicism is nothing about the behaviors that trigger attraction in a woman are against Stoicism. It's amazing. It's actually a very Stoic practice to be a Venusian artist. And in fact, Stoicism makes your Venusian arts better because being an emotional, whiny bitch is not a good way to pick up women. And that happens to every man. As you get a bunch of women, their drama somehow bleeds into your mind. It triggers a bunch of mommy issues and you turn into drama, and that's your female. It's literally your mom in you, or whoever was your mother caregivers growing up becomes the feminine archetypes in you. You have the female in your mind and body. So you get right with the female inside by getting right with the female outside, and vice versa. This is part of the spiritual evolution. This is what we do this is why I come to the camp. The camp. And the Lion's Den. Of course, come to the Lion's Den. I've been studying a long time. The camp is your opportunity to get it while it's here. Our friend a month ago died. We talked to him that morning. That evening, we got word that he died in a car accident. He was a high-level guy, manager of dream hotels, a lot of money, face tattooed, everything, owned NASCARs. He liked Japanese girls. He was always traveling back and forth. Like women, Japanese women. When you say that, you should say women. I saw all the videos. He was a player. And he died all of a sudden. You just never know when that's going to happen. So the camp is you get it while it's here. Lion's Den, you can always buy the recordings. Okay, so I have 15 minutes or less. Let's go with 5 minutes. If there's any comments or questions, I'll answer them here live. Should I end the recording? I think I'll end the recording and then we'll just talk in person. So if you're catching this, Spotify, YouTube, click subscribe. You know what to do. Don't be a freeloader. Come around, sign up for everything that's happening. And everybody that's here live, I appreciate you live more. So join me on Instagram, Yoga Bliss Chris. Next time, hope to see you. Os.